First of all, let me, on behalf of the entire sector, and I'm quite sure Mr. Harding from the GGMA would want to add his words shortly, express our deep sympathies to those individuals who were killed as a result of an accident that took place in the vicinity of the Barama Company Bokal operation. I think it referred to around 112 KM subcamp, and that took place yesterday. We're deeply concerned about the incident, and we do hope that the investigations can, one, look at what led to the accident itself and how it is that we can prevent such tragedies. Also, we know a number of persons were injured and they are receiving medical attention. We would like to thank Barama Company for aiding and responding quickly in this regard, and also it certainly shows that, you know, how dangerous it is out there as we have individuals who leave the coast or other areas and go to engage in their various activities, mining, forestry, or otherwise. And this certainly is a reminder of the dangers. Also, we are concerned about the reports of deaths, but also in and around some of the mining areas resulting from altercation and other activities. And I know we have facilitated from the ministry an interaction with the Ministry of Home Affairs and the Ghana Police Force involved in the Ghana Gold and Diamond Miners Association on how it is we can make our mining communities safer. And this will certainly have to be intensified, working in a very collaborative way. As we know, we have an expanding mining sector this year. We're looking in terms of gold production being close to, or even our declaration in excess of 451,000 ounces, up from 438,000 ounces plus last year. So we're talking about a sector that is growing, rapidly expanding, and with that expansion comes challenges, and these challenges we're not unaware of. They've been around from the time these activities are. The second area I want to update, you know, we would have launched several months ago, in fact over a year ago, Operation El Dorado, and that is to deal with the issue of illegal mining in all our mining areas, and team in terms of dealing and addressing the issue of illegal mining. Those activities continue, and we continue to encourage Guyanese and various stakeholders to support such efforts as we look at addressing whatever challenges, whatever problems, whatever issues that contribute to illegal mining and activities that do not aid or help the mining sector. And this, I want to assure you, the emphasis in terms of curbing illegal mining will continue. I've even met with the Brazilian ambassador recently, because in many instances when the operation is taking place, you find there are a number of Brazilians too, as non-nationals, who are involved in one way or the other in the illegal mining. And we brought this formally to the attention of the Brazilian ambassador as to, in terms of seeing how it is we can look at collaboration, but also dealing with the issues too of Brazilians who want to work and not getting their documents early. As another matter, I know the Ministry of Home Affairs has been addressing this too, but we're looking at all the factors, all the issues that contribute, and we do hope that we will continue to get the support of all stakeholders in arresting whatever illegalities or unbecoming activities that are taking place within the sector as it continues to blossom, as it continues to be a critical sector in terms of our country's development. The third area I want to address is that, and to announce that on April the 26th, or around that period, we will be holding a very important lottery. And this is a national lottery within all 6 mining districts, and will be held at the Northwest District, Kuyuni, the Mazruni, Pataro, Rupununi, and parts of Berbice. And we've decided that this lottery is necessary given, one, the increased demand for mining properties, And many instances when we go out there, persons would claim that they do not have access to their own land. And after ongoing discussions and even representations too, we've decided that we will have to do the lottery with much more frequency. We've had 2 last year, and this will be the first one we'll be holding for 2013. But this will be different in the sense that we will be making more areas available, where we'll be looking at 5 100-acre blocks in each of the mining districts. And this we see as another effort to curb any instances, or which one we point to, cases of illegal mining, whereby persons will have access to mining properties in this regard and be able to conduct their activities without fear of the regulators or others coming and disrupting their operations. So, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to briefly update you on these points, and before I invite the question, perhaps I will, Mr. Harvey.
Morning again. Of course, the Miners Association, we do welcome the lottery, and I am glad, as the Minister pointed out, that this lottery now is a national lottery, and we are looking at addressing the miners from all over the country being able to access lands and lands for mining. The association supports this. We called for it, and we glad that the Ministry and the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission have been able to open up these areas. It is good when people come into this industry, because we welcome everybody into this industry. We welcome Guyanese. It's their right of choice if they want to become part of this industry, and to legally enter the industry, to work along the rules and regulations of the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, to be able to adhere to the environmental regulations and to do the proper thing. We support that, and we encourage our miners to do that. We also encourage them, as we said earlier, to sell the gold to the Guyana Gold Board. And we want to make this industry a proud industry. As the Minister said before, this year we're going to have a record production. We anticipate that this year's production will be the largest in the history of Guyana, surpass OMI and the local miners. And it will be a proud year for the industry. And we encourage everyone to come part of it. We do it the right way. We also saddened to hear the loss of the life of the 4 people who supposedly were venturing out into the interior to seek a way of life, a livelihood. But we also want to tell them, it's difficult to sometimes accessibility, but 16 people on the back of a truck, that's a dangerous activity. And we will want to call on the truckers. You have a responsibility also. There's people's lives at stake, and you should ensure that your vehicle is properly in good working condition. And I know people want to go in here, and I know access sometimes is difficult, but you also have to be careful. It's your life, and it's really saddening. So I implore my fellow miners, as you seek to go into the interior, do it the safe way. And I also would implore the truck drivers not to overload their trucks, because I'm sure it was a truck fully loaded with fuel rations and then to put 16 people on top. That's not safe. The case of the Brazilians and the work permits, the association has been working with the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission and with the Ministry of Home Affairs, and we've been able to encourage the ministry and obtain from the ministry a list of non-nationals who have applied for work permits, and they have been granted. So the ministry is working, and these lists are now published, and you could go to the Ministry of Home Affairs and check to see, and that will hopefully encourage also the Brazilian miners to become legal or to register for work. and hopefully become a legal part of the gold and diamond mining industry. Because the illegal activities must stop. We are working with the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environment and the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, and I'm calling out all miners, so it become regularized. The association is here to work with you, and let's work together for the betterment of this industry.
All right, thank you, Mr. Harding. We now open the floor for any questions, queries, comments.
So then, earlier. Sir, could you say, now that you'll be having this national lottery, what will be the status of the lottery that had been planned for the persons in the Rupununi?
Well, one of the lotteries will be held within the Rupununi area, within that district. But I think there was some level of misconception about the special lottery. The objective of the lottery is to, as it were, to provide land mining properties to persons who do not have, and to assist us in reducing incidents of illegal mining. And that is why we've targeted the lottery in the different districts. And as Guyanese, as is provided for and as stipulated in the regulations, persons are free to contest the lottery and to participate. We cannot exclude anyone, any Guyanese, any legitimate individual, once they've satisfied the criteria, from participating. So this is not an exclusionary process or either an exclusive process, but rather one in which it allows for participation when they're resident in the mining district. And there are other conditions that are stipulated in terms of having ownership to equipment and not having ownership to more than a certain amount of mining properties. Those stipulations are there. So individuals are free to participate.
Will the persons who may have been identified as being involved in illegal mining be allowed to participate in the lottery?
We will have to get legal advice whether or not it can be employed as a condition in terms of preventing one from engaging in it. And certainly our legal team will have to advise once, if someone is prosecuted or someone is found guilty in accordance with the law.
Well, certainly our legal. Not been found guilty, but we were found in a property engaging in illegal activity.
Ellie can pronounce. Yes.
Charges must ensue in that regard if raiding has been found and can be proved, then charges would ensue. With respect to the question you asked, that is an area that we would specifically look at.
And I say also that we have lotteries, all mining districts, and almost feel that because you're from one area, you're restricted to that area. One of the things about mining is that you're free to go all over Guyana. There's lands available all over Guyana to mine. So not because you're one district, you feel you must apply for that district. You may find another area in another district that you may think that's attractive, and you're free to apply to any area within the lottery, within the areas in the lottery. So it's not, it's restricted to an area, a district, a mining district.
And the intention of the lottery is not to reward illegality or lawlessness. That has never been the genesis or the intention of lotteries in the past, nor is it the intention here. It is to bring some level of regularization, and it is the transparent and open means by which persons can have access to mining properties. And as Mr. Harding pointed out, we want more players, we want more Guyanese to be involved. We don't want mining to be the exclusive forte of some. Well, we want Guyanese to be able to have access to the resources and to develop these resources.
We would hope that if the miners in the Rupununi, once they got their issues sorted, they can become part of the lottery. Because it's open to everyone, and once they sort the issue with the GGMC, they should become part of the lottery. And they're not only restricted to Rupununi, but any other part of Ghana they feel, they want to go to mine.
Myself almost following up on that, have the miners who were found to be illegal, have they been charged? And if they have, what for?
Let me ask the legal advisor to update you.
No, charges have not been filed as yet. There's a preparatory process that goes with putting together a case, and that is currently in
You say there's a time frame within which they'll be charged?
well, they have to be charged in any case for those kinds of matters within 6 months.
There's a statutory time
It's a
frame.
statutory.
Okay.
So there is activity taking place there in this regard. We will not condone any lawlessness. We will not condone, and we've gotten the support of the miners' body and groupings, and I think all Guyanese. We will not condone any lawlessness, and that is why the work put in by the legal team here is to ensure that what we do it in a proper manner, and ensure that justice is dispensed properly.
Mr. Prasad, how do you respond to the criticisms in some quarters that the government is taking a light-handed approach with respect to the miners in the Ruknuni because of political reasons?
Well, I'm not sure how
Because you're trying to capitalize on Aboriginal votes.
I'm not sure how that can be well, that conclusion can be drawn, because the instructions and the directions given is that wherever instances of illegal mining is taking place, the GGMC will have to do its job, and that is a clear mandate. The commissioner is here, Mr. Hardy is here from the GGMC. I've never, as minister, has ever said, go light on this area, try to capitalize, let's play politics here. When we launched Operation El Dorado, it is about dealing with the issue of illegal mining, wherever it occurred, whenever there are reports in this regard. So that accusation is baseless. It is baseless, and you know, it is also sad, because sometimes it confirms this saying in our country: when you do, you're damned; when you don't, you're still damned. But we will continue to do what we have to do in terms of ensuring that the mining sector continues to thrive. And I want to encourage all stakeholders to give our officers support, to give the GGMC the type of support in getting his job done. I know some instances people have complained that we have not been able, over the many years, I read somewhere, someone said today, for the last 20 years, we have not been able to get the job done in terms of dealing with misuse of illegal mining and so forth. But we are seeking to make things happen. We've worked with the Ghana Defence Force. We now have an MOU with the Ghana Defence Force in terms of having aerial support, in terms of, because some areas are only accessible for rapid access by helicopter. Also the Y12, in terms of, so we're looking the collaboration with other agencies in this regard, develop collaboration with the Ghana Forestry Commission, and working too with the miners themselves too. Because the miners themselves want to see some level of organization and to remove whatever instances of illegality and conduct that is contrary to our regulations and our law. And that is what we're committed to, the enforcement of our regulations and law, and ensuring that there is compliance, but we want to do that in a manner that brings all stakeholders together.
Just through you, could any of the team members of the GGMC say why until now there has been no charge with respect to the illegal miners in Burundi?
I think the Elliot just answered the question.
Yes.
Yeah, but I wanted the elaboration. I mean, on the one hand, people are saying the police has been charged with respect to the assault.
Mm-hmm.
On the other hand, since the GGMC has publicly identified a number of persons, there was a specific number, we have not seen charges. So clearly they know who these people are, but we haven't any charges. So I want an elaboration as to why.
Well, as I had said previously, there is preparatory work that goes into, and given logistics as well, that is a factor that we also have to take into consideration. When we have all the information and we're satisfied we can prove the case, that's when you file the charge.
This will be made public.
Yes, it will
Yeah,
be made
I-
public, because
yeah.
it will be public knowledge. when it's
To
filed.
go before the court. That's where it'll end up. So.
So you have any time frame?
6 months.
No, you have any?
No, well, it wouldn't be to the end of 6 months. It will be
Right,
short.
that's what I wanted to find come. So whether you have it
It will be short.
another 2 weeks, 3 weeks?
I don't like being buttonholed. Within the coming couple of weeks.
Anytime.
Like you, I want the matter to be brought to some level of closure. So, but I can't force the legal team, and then when in the preparation of the charges, things are not done, properly, and then they would say, well, come back to me and say, well, Minister, you said let's get it done in 2 weeks, and then it matters to now. You have to do it proper. These are legal matters, and we have an obligation to do it properly.
Minister Prasad, they got mostly news source. Sir, as you open up this new lottery and you're talking a lot about fighting illegal mining, there may be some persons applying for that lottery who may be involved or who may have been named in other illegal activities, and we know who they are. We've heard their names in U.S. documents, and a lot of them are moving to the interior to take part in this gold rush. Is your ministry and the GGMC going to zero in on some of those people, and what steps are you going to put in place on how to deal with that issue?
You've raised a very fundamental point, and a point that I have concerns about. But at the end of the day, it is how do we go about, as it were, blacklisting, because when you're speaking to the issue of blacklisting and prohibiting, and what legal mechanism can we deal with? Because of the nature of mining and what the regulations currently stipulate as to who qualifies or does not qualify, I don't think that we have any particular legal safeguard that addresses that directly. But it is an issue that the legal team, we've pondered on how do we get that, because like yourself, I am concerned, and we are concerned, that that we may have actors who may want to get involved in the sector that may not have or enjoy too much of a clean background in this regard. But how do we exclude them? It's not an issue of ministerial discretion. It's not one in which the commissioner can up and say, well, Robert Prasad, for X, Y, and Z, you can get, but God Mosley, you can get. It doesn't give you that. There are conditions that are stipulated. And perhaps, and not only for mining, perhaps other areas of the economy and activities we may have to move into these issues. But then they also border in the issues of person's constitutional right to work and to enjoy. So these are fundamental issues that we have to grapple with. But I share that concern. I share the concern is a legitimate one, but we have to address the issue. But let me ask a later comment.
Our mining laws right now do not require that we do certain kinds of background checks in relation to persons who may apply. So that once you qualify within the parameters of the law, Mining Act and regulations, you may proceed with your mining activities. Because remember, we operate within the context of mining activities, exploration and mining activities. So it is, once we are not specifically required to deal with that aspect, it's going to be a little difficult for us to say you're excluded but you're not, and the basis for it, because of course everything comes back to evidence.
So as it is now, are you saying that if the United States, and they've been doing this pretty often, name someone as involved in the drug industry, the cocaine industry, they have documents with the evidence they would have had, and this person then comes to you, and you're aware of this information via the US, via the public, the media, and so you guys tied down into having that person treated as any other regular Joe when you have evidence that this is fine man?
Well, so far, as I have stated, we are not specifically required, but it's an area, as Minister has said, we have to certainly begin to look at. And I know there is new legislation that has come out through the Ministry of Finance, which will in due course place certain burdens on the GGMC. So in that context, in due course, I can anticipate that yes, we will have to begin to consider that area as part of our mandate in terms of screening. But we have to be very careful because our mandate is very limited in certain areas, so we have to be very careful.
But it is an area of concern, and we share that concern. But we have to deal with it, and deal with it in accordance with the law, and not some discretion.
Chandram Supernaturally is, Minister, can you say with this new lottery, with how much more land will become available for mining?
Well, we're doing in 6 times 5, 501 1-acre plots. 100-acre plots. You could do the math here. So it's a significant chunk, and it's targeting to small miners. This is targeting at small miners. So that's the category that we're getting at.
Small miners.
Small miners.
Mr. Harden, Kitchen News Gildari. You said there's a list from the ministry to get to the Brazilians. Could you say how many applications for what which they are? And is there a market increase as compared to the other years?
We can't speak of other years since we just started working with the ministry, but the list that he's given us has about over 300 names. Those are people who have permits have been approved.
Approved. And this is within a period of what time frame?
Well, we just started working. We just started asking the ministry in order to, to facilitate, because we want the Brazilians to really come on board. And, there's always somebody being bribed or whatever, so ask for everything. And I must admit, the GGMC also, when they finished screening the people, they were also supplying a list. So the Brazilian can come, Brazilian who apply can come to GGMC and maybe look at the list and see his name is proven, his document has gone to the ministry. Then he can sometime later go to the ministry, or the person sponsoring him can go to the ministry and look, and they see this person has been approved. So he can uplift now their documents and regularize them.
Minister, is there a market increase from a GGMC perspective?
Because we have an expanding sector, I wouldn't say there is a dramatic increase, but you have a constant number of persons who want, Brazilians and also other non-nationals too, who want to get involved within the sector and who have been making application in terms of their work permits. As you know, under our laws for small and medium scale mining, foreigners cannot have access to the property, so they're coming here either to work with some operators, joint venture, or some other arrangement within the sector. But we have seen that increase, and that is why, the work ensure that there's some level of collaboration in terms of the processing, and they also recognize that they have to comply with our laws. Brazilians, any non-national, and Guyanese.
Minister, could you say what are the findings of the report into the smuggling of gold to Curacao?
That report, what I've seen, has been inconclusive. There are certain areas whereby the law enforcement agencies will have to pursue, and we have already submitted that report to the law enforcement agencies for their attention and action as they may see fit. Our intention and our team went there was to ascertain certain facts from the GGMC and the Gold Board perspective. A lot of it was a fact-finding mission, because we have no powers to investigate and to move beyond that. And all the facts that we've gathered, we have supplied those to the relevant agencies in this regard.
What areas do they have to further inquire into based on the report?
Well, for instance, we've not been able to determine the source. There may be suspicions, but to validate that and there are many other areas that I'd rather prefer the law enforcement to speak to, and who are properly mandated under our constitution and our law to deal with that issue. And they can also speak to their collaboration with the Curacao and authorities and so forth in this regard. But our fact finding, whatever we would have been able to gather, we have made that known to the law enforcement agency.
But isn't it public knowledge that the boat is registered to Guyanese? So why a question mark over the origin of the boat?
I'm not talking about the origin of the boat. Gold.
Gold.
Right, it's not a boat. It's not a gold. Not a boat. Gold. You gotta help me here. It's the gold.
Is there a question mark over the boat?
No, I never thought there was any dispute in terms of where the boat emanated, where it was registered. But the content, the cargo in question, that is where it has to be determined. I mean, logics would point in a particular direction, as people may want to assume, but I don't have the capability conclude. But I'm not ruling anything out. But it is not my job. It is the job up to the law enforcement investigation. We were there immediately with our team to get as much information to see what collaboration we can develop. We've requested bits more information to conclude a fact-finding report. We have not gotten positive responses from the authorities there, and we've handed whatever we had to assist whatever the Guyana Police Force and others may wish to do in terms of looking at issues that concern law enforcement.
Minister, taking you back to Rupununi, how do you respond to allegations by the president of the Rupununi Miners Association, who said you would have promised to allocate lands to them outside of this lottery, and now in his estimation you have reneged, and that there seems to be some clear divide between what you say and what is said by GGMC?
I'm not sure about a clear divide. The commitment that we've made to that grouping or to any other grouping is that once lands are available through the legal and proper means of its disposal, or it being an opportunity for them to have access, as is the lottery, they, as I've said, like any other Guyanese, can feel that they can participate in this process, and that was what was said in that regard. There's only one way in which we can go about in terms of disposing it in this type of situation, and it's through a lottery. And as I said, we have the lottery plan for all the areas in this regard. But it's not a situation where we're going to say run off with this particular area. It has to be done through a mechanism, and the mechanism is a lottery. And we're doing it for miners who are interested, Guyanese who are interested, and if they're considering themselves Guyanese as they are, they can participate. It's an open process, as I said.
To your legal officer, if the laws are found broken by this illegal group in Marudi, and the lottery is built for the 26th of April, wouldn't it have some kind of, how should I put it? Would there be some kind of complication there? If they're found guilty and then now they're part of this lottery, what if they're awarded land? Will it be taken back? What happens then? No.
We don't penalize people for breaches, and so the lottery is open, as the minister said, and
Okay, that's what I want.
You don't penalize them for breaches? You don't think
we
they
penalize them, we charge them as per
Not as per
regulation.
but
the lottery aspect is not a reward for anything.
yeah, take for instance, Mr. Harding is a minor. Suppose he commits an infringement and issues a CISWORK order. That doesn't, there's not a him and the GGMC is mining activities. Yeah, the penalties, he has to fulfill the penalties and the obligation, and then he continues here.
Minister, in 2011, I think it was beyond $100 million in foreign direct investment or direct investment into the mining sector. Last year, it was how much, and this year was it like?
Well, it was more or less around the same level if you look in terms of mining and quarrying, because we tend to lump the two together. And based on the plans and what we've seen, we should see an increase in this regard, especially with people bringing new plants. The gradual shift from mercury to mercury-free types of technology, equipment with greater recovery and so forth. We see a lot of capital investment in that particular area, exploration activity, prospecting activity, and then you have the wide range of mining that goes with bauxite and other areas, and move into the quarrying areas where we are already in discussion with a number of potential investors in the area of quarrying. So we should look at the substantial increase in terms of investment and activities, both foreign and local, and I must say it's both foreign and local within the mining and quarrying sector.
Is there more local than foreign?
It depends. It depends. There is a substantial local input. Which is good. A substantial local input.
You'll be surprised to know that some local companies have more invested than the foreign companies.
Yes.
When we look at the expansion and the capital we have.
As we end that, could we request information as to what are some of the applications or the number of applications for duty-free concessions on ATVs, excavators, whatever else? Trying to determine the
But we can give you that. That's public information. We can give you that. What we can give you is what we have processed and recommended to the GRA. You'll have to go to the GRA and get what was granted. But we can give you, it's no secret, we can give you on a monthly basis. We have the data as to what is processed. So we can make that available for excavators and ATV and vehicles and different equipment. And so we can make that available. That's material ready.
If you look at a miner who has an excavator, you're looking in excess of $40 million investment.
Wow.
Roll Collins, Captain. I love Minister or Mr. Harding will take this. What's the latest with the change from the extraction of the materials from moving from mercury? How was the buy-in being by the new methods, moving away from the mercury? What's the latest?
Well, we're working with GGMC on technology. We're trying to, well, first of course, we want to encourage our miners to, if you use the mercury, to do safe use of mercury, right? To have a retort and to take the necessary procedures to use mercury safe, and that's for health purposes. On the recovery side, we're working with Ghana GGMC Commission to come up with alternatives, and there are some miners now who are bringing in equipment, recovery equipment, that we're very happy to see, because we can then see how they work, and then we, from the association point of view, can recommend it to their members. Some of these equipment prove to be expensive, and what we're hoping to do is, once we know it can work, and you maybe increasing your recovery from about 40 to 50% to maybe over 80%, we can maybe look at ways of financing this equipment, maybe talk to the banks or whatever, so we can get an improvement on the recovery, and also to move away from mercury, or reduction in mercury.
Does that have impact on the production levels also?
Yes. Well, if you're going to move from maybe 40 to 50% recovery, which is what the sluice box does, to over 80% with a washing plant and such, it's a substantial recovery.
Yeah, it will be substantial recovery, but that's providing that the small miners are able to step up.
Well, let's hope we find let's hope we find a system, and the cost is affordable. Because if you maybe, as I said, you have $40 million invested maybe in an excavator and such, and if the recovery system, maybe another $10 million, the maths will say that for that thing recovering from 50 to 80%. But we'd have to do, maybe talk to the banks or other financial institutions to assist the small miner in being able to afford it, or to invest in that recovery once it's proven, and that's what we're looking at.
We also, in addition to that, we also have a joint working group with different stakeholders in terms of looking at as we say, the transition, and how it is we can also have national buy-in, but also to see that as a country we can receive international support in this process too, because it will require a lot of training, a lot of technology transfer, and then getting the financial institutions and others to be on board. But I must say I'm happy with the efforts that are being made by the mining community in this regard. And you look at the television and you'll see advertisements there for mercury-free technology that have been increased. So the demand is there. Persons have been importing it. They've been requesting duty-free exemption on their equipment, and we've been looking at ways in which we can incentivize that too. So there's been a positive development in that regard, and I'm very hopeful. Okay.
Any more questions? All right. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.